Hello, welcome to a new video. In today's video we're going to take a look at the Open Ultra League and we're going to rank the current top meta for this league here. And yeah, today we're going to take a look at the Pokemon that you maybe want to build here or not. And we're going to start right into them. I'm not going to talk too crazy about most of them because again, we have a lot of Pokemon to rank here. Over 70, I went for the top 100 Pokemon on PvPoke again. But of course, a lot of them are also Shadow, which then again, like you're going to have some Pokemon twice. Also, I see they have 2 Como here for whatever reason. But yeah, we're gonna start here off with the Bomberstone. Interesting core breaker. I like this Pokemon quite a bit, but you haven't really seen a lot of this Pokemon recently. Feeling that this Pokemon does not really have as much play currently. I feel like the stats are just currently not as great for this one compared to other Pokemon that are currently really going around there. We're going to have next on the Annihilate. A tier in my opinion, if not S tier. Actually, I would put this into the S tier. For the Ultra League, I like this Pokemon quite a bit. Very cool, especially with the extra bulk that you have with a Rage Twist boost. Counter is really strong then. Even after the nerf, this Pokemon is still very good. I would actually put into the S tier. The typing itself also is really good. B tier for Belly Bolt, I feel like it's kinda fitting. This Pokemon definitely misses the coverage, but has great damage output and has a great bulk stats as well for this Pokemon. So yeah, very interesting thing there for sure. Blastoise, gonna be C tier for me. Not really the craziest Pokemon that has great bulk, and I feel like it's a kind of underrated Pokemon just because they are Feraligatr. It has like Shadow Clone, whatever. People are more leading towards this Pokemon, but I feel like still that this thing here is definitely going to have a lot of play. That the Blastoise still is going to be a good Pokemon to use. Clefable, A tier for sure. And then we're gonna have here next up Clodsire. Yes, Clodsire is in the top 100. I think it's like number 51 or something on PvPoke for the Open Ultra League. I'm gonna put into D tier. It just the ranking itself, I don't know, I can't see that this Pokemon is that great. I might gonna give it another try though, maybe for like the next time Ultra League is around, but yeah, D tier I feel like is kinda accurate. Cobalion, I feel like A tier is kinda where it's at. It's not like top tier meta, but it's still very usable. I feel like that's kinda solid for it. And same goes for Cresselia. I feel like S tier is a bit too high for Cresselia nowadays. Still, this Pokemon has a lot of play. It's actually, you could argue of it being S tier still. I'm gonna have to put S tier. I'm sorry, S tier is still kind of where Cresselia is. Couldn't really put into A tier. Like, it is still very solid, very good with the coverage. Now people are kind of stopped running the Grass on this Pokemon and more leading towards the Moonblast plus the Future Sight on it. But yeah, still very solid Pokemon. It has to be S tier. That would be a little bit too low if I would put it into the A tier. B tier for me is Decidueye. Decidueye actually has quite a lot of play now with the Astonish buff, and I feel like it has a bit more play in the Ultra League compared to the Open Great League here, because Open Great League has more normal type Pokemon. Here you have a little bit less of them, with basically only like 1 that's really good, 2 maybe, which you're gonna see later on. Donphan, B tier as well. I feel like C tier is like already like Pokemon that you see a little bit less or like have a little bit less use. Donphan actually has really decent usage, so like use in general. So I feel like B tier makes a lot of sense for it. Same goes for the Dragalge. I wouldn't put it into A tier yet. It's a good Pokemon, don't get me wrong, but I feel like B tier is where it's at. Still, again, like all of the Pokemon here are going to be usable Pokemon. And yeah, the S tier is like the top tier meta. The A tier is like good Pokemon that you see quite often. B tier is like Pokemon that you definitely gonna be able to use in a solid way, and C and D is then of course Pokemon that have potential in certain matchups but are a little bit more difficult to play. Dragonite is still A tier. It has to be still A tier. The Shadow variant is just a little bit too strong for being anywhere else, and S tier and like high S tier is Drapier. This Pokemon after the Poison Sting buff is ridiculous. Next one we have Drifblim. S tier for me as well now. Like, this Pokemon is very solid. Yes, in the Great League it might be even a little bit better than in the Ultra League. Actually, both leagues is going to be so overpowered. Like, I like this Pokemon quite a bit. And then we have Dusclops. And while C tier maybe is a bit of an understatement for the power that this Pokemon actually going to have, I feel like B tier would be a bit too strong for it, just because there are too many Pokemon that do the same in better. And so I feel like C tier it is. Electrovire into the B tier is kind of fitting as well. Again, it's not going to be top tier meta. It's not going to be Pokemon that you see a lot of times, but in certain matchups, this Pokemon is actually really good. Top tier meta is, of course, for Feraligatr, like S tier for sure. There's no two opinions about this one. Ferrothorn is a classic B tier. I feel like we're going to have a lot of B tier Pokemon here today. Gastron, S tier. This Pokemon is so overpowered if you have this Pokemon. I saw a lot of people hitting like high up leaderboard ranks with this Pokemon now. It's so strong. Gengar, C tier it is, still a very solid Pokemon, but like it's a bit tricky to run. Maybe actually more D tier to be fair because of the bulk that it has. Yeah, I feel like D tier is kind of okay for it. Giratina is still in the S tier, but low S tier for me, the number one. But the one without the legs, I would put into this C or B tier. I would still put C tier. It's kind of similar to what like basically the Dusknoir going to have here. You have like Pokemon that just do the job a bit better than itself. So yeah, that's kind of fitting. Let's go with a buff. We don't really know exactly where it's going to be yet, but I would put it into A tier from the first few looks at it. A very solid Pokemon. I feel like it's better in the Ultra League compared to the Great League. Golurk, I actually would put into the A tier as well. I think that this Pokemon is going to be very, very strong. More leaning towards B than S, but still very, very good. Very good is also Goodra. I should have not done this one, but Goodra is going to be an interesting Pokemon. I'm going to put into the B tier though. I don't really see like Dragon type Pokemon have crazy play currently. Other than like Dragonite. Dragonite is a bit more, has a bit better coverage, has like the Dragon Claw stab move, which is like Goodra just lacking a little bit. Greninja, A closer to S, but A tier is definitely where I cannot see this one. Gastlord is close between S and A. I guess I actually some sort of Dragon type Pokemon done. I have to put into S tier. Like it's a very, very strong. I have to put into S tier. Gastlord I feel like deserves it here. Powdon actually I would put into A tier. This Pokemon are really, really good. Como B tier has some potential, but like it's actually more C tier actually. In terms of the dragons, we're going to have Licky next, which I put into the S tier for sure as well. The best normal type Pokemon to run for sure. Machamp, B tier, I feel like it's kind of more accurate. I think this Pokemon has a lot of potential with the boss as well, but it's not as great. Mandibuzz, I feel like Mandibuzz is better in the... Nah, both. I have to put S tier. I have to put S tier. There are a lot of Pokemon that are the top tier meta. Like S tier is literally the top tier Pokemon that you kind of really want to have. I feel like Annihilape should be a little bit lower on the list here for sure as well. Though, like the list itself, like it's not like that. Dragonflame is just the best in general. Like it goes down afterwards. But just generally speaking, I feel like that Annihilape is closer to the A tier than like being S plus basically. Meganium, haven't seen good success with this. I just better grass type Pokemon D tier. Mewtwo is the armored Mewtwo. I still would put it into the D tier. I feel like they're just Pokemon that do the job a bit better. And it's also basically hasn't been released in ages. We have Miltank. A tier could be S. I actually would put it S tier. I think people just don't have it built. It's basically just like Licky, but has better coverage nearly. But I think, yeah, it's just, I don't know, like I feel like this Pokemon has like cool coverage with Ice Beam especially if we're gonna take a look at the current meta, like it's really, really good. It has to be S tier, like it's just very rarely to be seen. That's mainly why I haven't really had too much experience with it, but I feel like it's a worthy investment currently, at least as long as the rollout is as strong as it is currently. As we have here next, the Galarian variant of the Moltres, I would put A tier. Not as great as it is, for example, in the Great League for sure. Nidoqueen, B tier is fair. Ninetales as a Kanto one, I would put C, and as a, yeah, a Alolan one, I would put into the B tier. Charm is not as good anymore, I feel like. Charm is definitely kind of, like the days of Charm are kind of over, which is kind of interesting. I feel like a lot of people don't really like PvP as much anymore since like Charm is gone, and Razor Leaf is gone, and Counter is gone, all the fast move pressure is gone. And people, I feel like, kind of dropped the game a bit with it. But to be fair, I feel like also most of the issues are coming mainly from Niantic and less from PvP itself. But yeah, Oranguru, A tier. Very good Pokemon to build. It's something that I definitely want to build as well. A tier as well is going to be the Pangoro as well as the Poliwrath. I feel like Poliwrath still deserves the A tier spot. Primeape, a bit worse than Annihilape in this meta. I feel like Primeape is better in the Great League. Annihilape is better in the Ultra League. But A tier for sure. Rapidash, somewhere in the C tier or something like this. I feel like it's kind of accurate. The Reggies are just not worth it. Like, they are just not worth it. Regirock is maybe C tier, Regice is D tier. Registeel is worth it though. I still have to put it into the S tier, but very, very low. We have the Runorigas, somewhere in the B tier. I feel like it's accurate. The Alolan Sandslash should be an S tier pick still. Has some good potential, especially in the current meta as well. Superior actually has some solid play, but I would put B tier. Again, like this is a Pokemon that just barely hits the correct CP, which makes it a bit more awkward to use. Skeledirge is also B tier for me. It was better in metas back in the day, but now with the Mudstep buff and a lot of ground type Pokemon around, it's a bit tricky. Skuntank, kinda A tier, but like lower list on it. You have the Sneasler, gonna put C tier. I feel like this Pokemon has a lot of potential, but people just don't use it as much. We have Steelix next, which is going to be an A tier pick. You have the Unovan Stunfisk and the Galarian Stunfisk, which are an A and a B tier pick. You have Swampert being sadly currently a B tier. I wouldn't really put it into the A tier. You don't really see it too often anymore. You have Talonflame S tier. We have Tapu Fini really dropped down. I actually would put it into B tier now as well. Was S/A before for sure. Tentacruel S tier. No doubt about this. Pokemon is amazing. The Trevenant completely vanished as well. I would put it into the B tier still though. We have Turtonator, C tier, needs Dragonclaw. We have Typhlosion, A or B. I would put it B tier. I feel like that's kind of more where it's supposed to be. We have Umbreon in the A tier. We have Venusaur in the B tier. We have the Verzian in the S tier, by far best grass type Pokemon that you can currently run for this meta. We have Walrein in the B tier. We're going to have the Weezing in the S tier. And we're going to have here, wait, I'm going to change my face cam real quick here. And we're going to have here next up the Zapdos in the C tier, which is also more of a spicy one, and the Zygarde in the S. And with this, the tier list is kinda done here. We're gonna see as well. This is going to be the tier list for the Open Ultra League for me. Again, S tier is like the top tier meta Pokemon that you really would want to have. A tier, for sure, Pokemon that you're going to see quite often and have a lot of play. B tier, Pokemon that you can definitely use in certain teams and have some nice usage. C tier, more difficult to run, more spicy to run. Pokemon exist in the higher up ranks that do the job a little bit better with the same kind of stuff. And D tier is just, yeah, maybe not. Maybe just don't try it. And I feel like I'm actually really happy with this tier list. I think this is a very accurate tier list in terms of, yeah, which Pokemon is good and which is not. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I will see you then. Bye bye.